because I've been looking over your profile and listening to some of your music. You started out as a new wave singer in the 80s, am I correct?
Yes, probably in the 78, 79, I started taking guitar lessons. I bought a Les
Ah,
Paul. By the way, this is Debra Cohen speaking, and thank you,
hello.
Kevin, for having me on your show.
Absolutely.
I went to music school in Brookline, Massachusetts, and I really didn't dig music theory. I found out later it was because I have dyslexia. I had trouble
Ah,
reading the notes. I'm like, oh. So I dropped out of music school as soon as I could play 1, 4, 5 on my Les Paul, which, people that play guitar know those are chords, right?
hmm
A blues progression, but it was new wave rock. Yeah. So I auditioned for this band in Boston, and the guitar player that was auditioning, MPC, lived across the street from Berklee School of Music. So I
Oh,
got to record over there with his band, and we released actually one single, Boston
oh,
Night, which you can still hear on my CD called 80s. And it got radio airplay on BCN. And the exciting thing about that time of my life is our band opened up for Joan Jett.
oh, wow.
Whoa, that was so great. I love rock and roll. So I don't know what kind of music. She's
uh,
still going, but I fell in the
yeah.
party wagon. So even though the song had airplay, we didn't go anywhere. And
Mm,
we had another chance to go somewhere. I wrote a song called Dreamin', which is also on the same CD. And we got a call from one of MPC's friends in New York, a recording engineer named Hanuman Das.
ah,
And he was working with the band In Excess. I don't know if you're ever familiar with them, but they
yeah.
were around for a while. They wanted to record my song, Dreamin'. I'm like, oh,
Oh, wow.
this is like super cool. So,
Yeah.
and this was like around maybe 84 when this happened. Because let's see, well, my MPC and I sort of got serious with each other and decided we'd had enough of the band scene, because we were just doing too
Mm,
much drugs, I mean,
yeah.
anyway. So anyway, so we got this call from New York, and they wanted to record Dreamin', and I was blown away. But
Mm,
MPC and I were married at this time, and we had an argument over who was going to get credit for writing the song. I was the
mm,
songwriter, and
mhm,
I was still very much full of myself. Unfortunately, this is my
mm,
biggest regret is I should have said, look, I don't care who gets the credit. Let In Excess record it. But no,
mm,
we had to argue. Michael wanted the credit for the song because it was his
mhm,
contact. I mean, come on, we couldn't even agree on 50-50 split. So the song went nowhere. I'm like,
mm,
I can't believe it. Just a wannabe rock star. And then, of course, I was still taking drugs, and uh,
mhm,
cocaine and Dom Perignon was my favorite. And I almost
mm,
died from a drug overdose because I was also doing THC, and it was laced with something, I don't know, rat poison or whatever. And
mm.
but I wasn't real spiritual, even though I was born into a Catholic family. But when I almost died, I cried out to the God that I never knew. And
Mm,
I said, oh, if you let me live, I promise I will serve you. But he
mm,
let me live. And I guess wasn't really committed. People make
mhm,
promises all the time and they don't keep them.
mhm,
But anyway, I eventually changed my direction, visited Israel in 99, and discovered that Jesus is a Jew, or was a Jew, because you don't hear that in church, right? And
mm,
I'm like, that was a shockaroonie. I'm like, wait a minute, you
mm.
don't hear this in the United States. You hear that what Jesus was white, or
Mm.
I'm like, no, he
Right.
wasn't. He was probably a dark Arab, but anyway, who knows? Uh, um, because Jews can be Arabs too. That's another story. So
Mhm.
anyway, came back to the States looking for the Torah, truth, and my music changed. I
Mm.
started dreaming music. And I'm like, I never dreamed a song in my life. And
Mm.
the first song that I heard in my dreams, I wrote the words to it called My Tainted Heart. And you can find that also online. And it's about repentance, like for the first time, really being sorry about being a wild rock and roll chick, living you know, a Catholic can go to like church on Sunday and go in the
Mhm.
confession box. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been X amount of weeks since my last confession. These are my
Mm.
sins, and then go out and live like hell the rest of the week. Oh, but anyway, so that's it. That's it in a nutshell. Now I write praise and music, and it appeals to Christians and Jews, although, like one camp says you can't be in both. You can't have one foot in Christianity and one foot in Judaism. But, God is God. You can decide for yourself what his characteristics are, depending on how much you read about God. And that's where I'm at. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So there you have it, Kevin. What
Uh,
do you think?
I think it's a pretty amazing story, and also read that you formed a blues band, probably in the middle of doing new wave and going into what you're doing now.
Oh, well, like after the new wave thing and after getting married, and that didn't work because I had some baggage from childhood that I wasn't willing to face, and the counselor couldn't do anything with me because every time she wanted to talk about my childhood, I said that has nothing to do with me today, which was totally wrong. I could now in hindsight I can see it had everything to do with the way
Mhm.
I was. um, so after the big D, I call it the big D. Actually, it was an annulment because
Oh.
the Catholic Church, MPC, wanted to remarry a French Catholic, and they couldn't have any Catholic kids unless because he was married to me, a Catholic. So they had it after we were married 3 years. If you pay enough to the church, you get an annulment, which means
Mm.
you were never married you
Mm.
know so blah da da da. So I thought, so this is a sorry life. Maybe I'll find my self-worth in my job. So because I was just not feeling good about myself. And so I started working for the post office carrying mail, and I loved it, as a rural mail carrier, driving in the countryside. Let's see, where was I? Think I was I started out in Andover, Massachusetts, and then we moved to Bristol, New Hampshire. And so I was riding around this beautiful country, delivering mail and still drinking, though. I remember
Mm.
several times pulling over in the middle of the daytime. I'm like, oh, I hope nobody sees this, puking my guts out from a
Mm.
hangover. I'm like, my God, what's wrong
Mm.
with me? I can't seem to get my life right. So I tried, I had this God thing going. And so I thought, what am I going to do with myself? Nobody wants my rock and roll friends don't want to hear about God. As a matter of fact, my family said, you can come visit us if you don't talk about God. And
Mm.
these are like Catholics. I'm like, what's
Mm.
wrong with you? This is who I am. I mean, I wasn't Bible thumping, but hey, if you want to know about who I love, if you talk about who you love, I
Mhm.
love God. Okay. I just got out of a divorce. I'm going to love God with all my heart. Well, that was kind of sad because I lost a lot of my friends, my party friends. And so I thought, you know what? My life is not going anywhere. I'm going to like interview to become a nun. you know I'm like,
Mm.
okay. So in 1990 in Portland, Maine, I had an appointment with Father Bob. I call him Father Blob. Like 300 pounds, tall
Mm.
giant, big fat giant. And I sat
Mm.
in this tiny chair across from his huge desk, and he asked me, you have any questions you want to ask me? And I said, yeah, what, I don't want to be a cloistered nun that prays in a closet all day. How come Catholics don't allow female priests? whoa, he shot up
Mm,
out of his chair like somebody pinched him in the ass. And
mm,
I'm like, he said, before you make a lifetime commitment at something you obviously know little about, I
mm.
suggest you go home and read your Bible, little girl. And he pointed me to the
Mm.
door and he asked me to leave. So I
Oh
shook my
wow.
fist at the heaven because, Catholics think that the priest is the same as God. I said,
Mm,
I'll have nothing more to do with you either. And that's when I moved to Nashville. And well, actually, no, in between, I actually, right after that, got a job as a postmaster on an
mm,
island, but that's another
mm,
story. So I got, after that, that didn't make me happy either. I thought the job, the prestige of female postmaster,
mm,
like I started drinking again. I'm like, man, this is not happening for me. I'm sorry. So
mm,
I quit my post office job and moved to Nashville in
mm,
'94 and started a blues band. Yeah,
mm,
formed a blues band, entered the best unsigned blues band contest out of 16 bands. Our band placed third, I guess it was. And we'd only been in Nashville for 7 months, so that was a big deal. I mean, I got the red carpet treatment. I got to go in
mm,
this clothing store and uh, somebody else that was managing me paid my for my clothes and everything, and we started doing these
mm,
wonderful gigs. And then after that contest, I fell into a depression.
mm,
What's wrong with me? I mean, I thought this would make me happy. I'm in Music City, USA,
mm,
and I just wasn't happy. And so I went to a doctor because I said, you know what? I don't even want to wake up some
mm,
mornings. And when I do, I don't
mm,
know who I'm gonna be. Am I gonna be this wet blanket person, like
mm,
doesn't come out of her funk for days? So he took the
mm,
pencil test and clinical depression. He said, "You're not depressed. Your test came back not depressed." I'm like, I don't want to live, but I don't have the courage to take my life. So you think I'm not depressed? So
mm,
that drove me into church. I needed an answer. All right, because Catholics are different than Pentecostals, which is where I
mm,
went, where they raised their hands up, hallelujah. I'm like, so I found some relief there because there was life, you know, and I started reading the Psalms and memorizing the Psalms and actually experienced a healing at a Benny Hinn crusade. Some people think he's flaky, but I get healed from Meniere's disease there. I'm like, whoa, which is, if you're a singer, you need to have your hearing. But
mm,
anyway, after that, I thought, this is not happening for me. I actually went and had an interview with an A&R guy in Nashville, artist and whatever they call it. And during the interview, it was kind of weird. The guy was real stuffy because I wanted to get signed to a
mm,
label. And he's like not even looking at me face to face, no hello,
mm,
how do you, nothing. He's just flipping through his Rolodex, if you know what that is.
mm,
And I'm like, what the hell's he looking at his Rolodex for? But, I had to watch my Boston mouth because, you're down south. You can't just tell it like it is because they get offended real easy down the south. So I'm sitting there like Polly Purebred. I'm waiting for, he says, how about we pitch your songs to Twyla Paris? I'm like,
mm.
Twyla. I said, well, she's kind of wimpy, you know? He said, and this is Christian music now. He said,
Ah,
how about Margaret Becker? I'm like, okay, well, she's a rocker, and Ashley Cleveland was really hot back then. If any of you all listening know her, wow, man, she can really sing blues rock. I don't know if she's still alive, but she was in the '90s. But so I finally had the courage because I was getting frustrated sitting there. Why are you trying to pitch my music to other people? I want to sing it. He just turned his chair around a quarter turn, looked at me, and said, there's no such thing as an overnight success. And I said, I know,
mm,
I'm here. I'm here. And he said, no, it takes years of grooming. And I said, yeah, I moved to Nashville. I'm committed. And he finally had to give it to me, socked it to me right to my face. He looked at me and he said, nobody's going to sign you. You're too old. Oh, the
wow.
dagger in the heart. I was hiding my age, I think I was in my 40s maybe then, or maybe just who knows what I was. But anyway, He just killed me with his words. That was it.
Mm,
I bought his lie, hook, line, and sinker. I
mm,
believed what he said. I packed my Nashville bags and I moved to Cleveland, Tennessee to go to Lee University in 1998. And again, to
mm.
study but the Bible, because that seemed to be the only place where I felt like I was half alive. And that's when I went to Israel and found out about the Jewish, Messiah, Jesus, whatever you want to call him. And what else? What else can I tell you
Well, you can talk about your music today.
today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Let me have a. I've got this new coffee here that it's got an additive. It's supposed to make you lose weight. So, because during COVID, I'm a yoga teacher now. That's one of the
Mm,
things that I do, and but I teach older adults. So the first places to
uh,
close were the old folks. I mean, so I became like jobless for 2 years, very sedentary, put on some weight, and let me tell you, pleasingly plump is not pretty. So
mhm.
it's got this in the mail yesterday, so I'm hoping it'll burn through
Ah,
that.
okay.
But anyway, so I started writing Christian music, which is why I say I actually in Nashville. And then after my trip to Israel, I started writing like they call it Messianic Jews, Jews that believe in Jesus. Okay, so I've crossed over there and started writing songs in Hebrew as I was learning it and English, and then decided to go like full plunge and
Mm,
convert to Judaism and start writing same Bible. The Christians have the Old Testament and the New Testament, and the Jews have the old, if you want to call it the Old Testament. Rabbinic Judaism also relies on commentary from the rabbis throughout the times. So, you can pick, nobody knows who the Messiah is. I mean, I turned my back on Jesus when I found out, if he taught the Torah, but people don't follow the Torah, they say
mm,
that he fulfilled the Torah, therefore we're no longer under the law. Well, Torah is confused in Christianity with law. It's not the law, it's instruction. Torah means instruction. God gave us all a manual to live by, and you can't pick and choose. I mean, as a matter of fact, Christianity, they don't even believe in the book that Jesus taught, the Torah, because Jesus was a Jew. They follow a book that was written 60 years after Jesus died, called the New Testament. So like he didn't even write it. So I'm starting to think about this stuff and I'm thinking, wait a minute, something's not right with this story. So you start digging your own path, and I'm not trying to tell anybody this is the
yeah.
absolute way. This is just what resonates with my soul. And we all have a soul, don't we? Huh?
Mhm.
Soul to soul. So I'm talking to you, brother, soul to soul.
Yeah.
What are you going to say at the end of your life, people, when you have to answer to the God maybe that you knew or didn't know, or he's not who you thought he was, or she, or whatever? And what did you do with your life? We're all here for a reason. And so my music is about trying to find the reason. And, every once in a while, when I release singles every month, I was doing it every month till I started writing a book this year,
Oh,
after the October 7th massacre
yeah.
in Israel. I thought, oh my God, like what's happening to this world? This is not right. Everybody, there's kinds of like, before that, I was on the bandwagon helping the Christian Sudanese people because they're being slaughtered by the Arab Muslims in the north of Sudan. But, so now my battle, pick your battle. You can't fight everybody, and you don't fight with hate. That's the whole deal. Hamas fights
Mm,
with hatred. Let's exterminate the Jews. Okay. Well, then the world will be a better place to live in. Wrong. Hitler
mm,
tried that, and he got exterminated instead. So
mm,
anyway, I wrote this book called Jewish Palestine, Arab Palestine, A History of Conflict, and it's a factual book about the origins of Palestine. So
oh,
that you can come to a better two-state solution because
oh,
the ones that have been proposed are two-state delusions. So the information in this book, which just came out last month, is based on some secret documents that were discovered in the UK archives.
oh,
Secrets about the origins of Palestine. So, if everybody needs to read it. So when you get into a conversation about this thing, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, you at least have something that is factual from historical documents instead of propaganda. You know,
mm,
it's the danger, and in this country, we're in the United States here, we're going to be facing another election soon with Trump versus Biden. And, people are just slinging shit at each other. And
yeah,
that was not the way democracy was supposed to be. And this country calls themselves a Judeo-Christian country. Well, like, where's the Judeo in that? And why are all the Christians like, I haven't heard many Christians like standing up for Israel at the beginning of this war with Hamas. But anyway,
mm.
I'm getting on to my book, and you asked me about my music. So my music, so all that to say, one of my latest singles is called This Land, My Home. And
Mm,
it's about the land dispute over there in the Middle East. Whose is it? It was Canaan 3,000 years ago, and God sent who to go there? I'm not going to tell you the contents of the books because you won't get it. So
mm,
that, but I've been trying to get back to songwriting, and instead, I had an interview with this other podcast, and the guy said, after I shared my story, he says, "You need to write a book about your journey." I'm like,
mm,
so I'm working on that instead of my songs, but I'm
mm,
still dreaming music. I mean,
mm,
I take I wake up in the middle of the night if I think the song is good. I've lost a lot of good songs because I was too lazy to get out of bed. But I'm like, okay,
mm,
I'll get my phone out and I'll hum the melody in there, and then go back to sleep. And then when
mm,
I have time, I'll take that tune that I recorded and
mm.
work on it because I do my own recording. I had to because
Oh,
can't afford to pay engineers. I mean,
right.
I'm a injured yoga teacher, depending on an income with my music, and it takes about 5,000 streams on Spotify for me to be able to
Oh,
afford
wow.
to buy a t-shirt. So you think I can pay my bills?
Mm,
Oh, come on, people. Let's put my music on your playlist. I write
mm.
multi-genre music. So, if you don't pick
Oh,
one song, pick another. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And your music is also available on Amazon Music as well, because I took a peek at that. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Amazon, and it's spelled because you know what? Everybody spells my name wrong. It's Debra. But people try to spell my name like Deborah because that was more common.
Hmm.
So I'm constantly having to spell my name. Debra
Hmm.
Cohen, Cohen. And if you go to Amazon and look me up, Debra Cohen Music, you'll also see that I sell merch. Scroll down, you see my music. Scroll down, you see my merch. And you can also look for my book on Amazon, my new book. So it's one-stop shopping. And as a matter of fact, right now, I'm going to have a July 4th sale, but I don't know when you're going to be broadcasting this for a free Kindle download on Amazon, one day only to celebrate July 4th. So if you're curious about the book, you just go to Amazon and download the book for free on July 4th. There you have it, sir. Evan?
Thank you. And before we wrap up, I like to ask all my guests, especially musicians, what what is the artist that influenced you and who do you pull from? It could be from any genre and what type of music other than what you're doing that you like?
Ah, okay. Well, Stevie Wonder's at the top of the list because, me and my aunt and grandfather, and we used to listen to Stevie Wonder when we went to visit the grandparents. I said, yeah. And then Sly and the Family Stone. I'm gonna get you higher.
Mhm,
Chakalaka, boom, chakalaka. Yeah. Okay.
mm,
Then, of course, the Beatles, Paul McCartney stole my heart. I really thought he was going to marry me, but it didn't happen. I was so mad at him.
mhm,
When he married Linda, I'm like, oh, you broke my heart. But anyway,
mm,
that was silly. Beatlemania is what it was called. And the Supremes, I love the Supremes. And I love disco music. I actually entered a bump contest at the Brickyard Inn in where was it in New Hampshire, Moultonborough, maybe. Yeah, and my boyfriend at the time, we won the bump contest. I'm like, yeah.
wow.
And then I changed from that to Led Zeppelin. I still love Led Zeppelin. Yeah. And then I changed to Chrissy Hine and the Pretenders and the B-52s and D Light. I love DEE Light, Lite.
Mm.
Groove is in the heart. And then, of course, Heart and Bonnie Raitt and the Prince and the
Mm,
Cars and Madonna and Aerosmith and Peter Gabriel and let's say Tony Childs and on and on and on. So I've been a lot. I mean, I'm going to be the big 7-0 this year. So I've been around for
oh,
a while.
awesome.
Yeah, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. And Chaka Khan, right? Chaka Khan.
Oh
She's
yeah.
still, she's still going strong. So how does that kind of music turn into praise music? You need a good percussionist, and I still haven't found one. So if you're in the Clearwater, Florida area and you want to get a groove happening locally and you play some groovy, like D-Light, look up
Mhm,
the song Groove is in the Heart. I love that song. Groove is in the heart. And yeah, contact me because it would be kind of cool to get a gig going again, seriously. So, yeah. I like to dance, and, even praise music, people need to loosen up because,
mhm,
when you get the spirit in you, I mean, and I've been in this like, when I used to go dabbling in Christianity and joined a choir, it was Miss Priss that was the first soprano, and I'd be singing next to her, and I start, like moving when I sang, and Miss Betsy would say, "Would you stop that? You're distracting me." I wasn't
mm,
trying to move; it's just in me. I get the music in me, man. So, in Judaism, it's cool because they call it davening. They rock back and forth, and I'm like praying my prayers and praising God. So,
yeah,
you gotta bust loose, it's not like I call it
yeah.
round mouth singing, Ooh, nothing moves except your lips. Hallelujah. Boring.
Well, as someone who grew up in the Black church tradition, oh, we definitely move.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Absolutely. I was a choir director for a
Uh,
Cumberland Presbyterian church in Cleveland, Tennessee. I think
mhm.
there was only two white people in the church. And the pastor, Mitchell, he asked me if I'd lead the choir. The piano player was a little
Mhm.
huffy to me, but I'm like, get over yourself. There's room for two people. So yeah, I really love the Lord. I really love the Lord. You don't know what he's done for me. Faith is the victory. I love him. I love him. I
Mm.
really love the Lord.
Awesome.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Mm.
Yes, yes. Well,
All
thank you.
right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being on our show for VHC. It's such a fun time, such fun getting to know you and talking with you on this episode of VHC. And it will be dropped on August 10th because I got like at least 4 episodes in line for July, and you'll be on August 10th. So,
Okay, that's cool. And I
yeah,
appreciate it. People go to debracohenmusic.com and find out more about me. And it's been a pleasure, Kevin, being with you. And thank you for letting me bust a gut.
absolutely. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.